Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for spending part of your night with us tonight. Where do we even begin? It seems that each day that goes by, the next day can't be more interesting than the previous one. And that's the way it's, I think, always been, even in the first Trump administration. But this time around, it gets more interesting by the day, by the hour, and by the minute. Donald Trump always keeping everybody on their feet, and things are always changing. So President Trump back home now after a very successful trip over at the NATO summit in the Netherlands, where he's got every nation to start pledging 5% of their GDP towards defense. It's not just America anymore, feeding the mouths of these people who use and abuse us. I say it here very often. It's very unclear what NATO has ever done for us and what they will ever do for us when push comes to shove. But we've been feeding this beast for many, many years, and it's time that they start giving back. So President Trump on this trip with those leaders now getting 5% pledged towards defense spending for their nations should they ever need it. So what went on while he was over there? Well, of course, the mainstream media, who follows President Trump everywhere, had their questions about Iran. It wasn't just any media, it was CNN and the fake news. Caitlin Collins and CNN leaking that according to a new report from U.S. Intel, the strikes in Iran weren't as severe or as devastating as Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth had originally said. Donald Trump, of course, disputing that. But take a listen to Caitlin Collins and the arrogance on this woman.
Please, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, fake news, CNN?
Here, I'll hold it.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Wait till you hear this question.
Thank you, sir.
You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have two questions for you, Mr. President. You just cited Israeli intelligence on these attacks. Earlier, you said U.S. intelligence was inconclusive. Are you relying on Israeli intelligence for your assessment of the impact of the strikes?
No, this is also Iran made the statement. And it's also, if you read the document that was given, that Pete can talk about if you'd like, the document said it could be very severe damage, but they didn't take that. They said it could be limited or it could be very severe. They really didn't know other than to say it could be limited or it could be very, very severe. And you didn't choose to put that because it was very early after. Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site. And the site is obliterated, and we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out. Okay.
Caitlin Collins, I question every time I hear her speak, whose side is she on? Is she on the side of America, or is she on the side of everybody who's fighting against America? So if you don't want to take Donald Trump's word for it, let's go to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and see what he had to say in response to that arrogant Caitlin Collins.
There's a reason the president calls out fake news for what it is. These pilots, these refuelers, these fighters, these air defenders, the skill and the courage it took to go into enemy territory flying 36 hours on behalf of the American people and the world to take out a nuclear program is beyond what anyone in this audience can fathom. And then the instinct of CNN, the instinct of the New York Times is to try to find a way to spin it for their own political reasons to try to hurt President Trump or our country. They don't care what the troops think. They don't care what the world thinks. They want to spin it to try to make him look bad based on a leak. Of course, we've all seen plenty of leakers. And what do leakers do? They have agendas. And what do? Do they share the whole information or just the part that they want to introduce? And when they introduce that preliminary report that's deemed to be a low assessment. You know what a low assessment means? Low confidence in the data in that report. And why is there low confidence? Because all of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000-pound bombs is buried under a mountain, devastated and obliterated. So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated. And somebody somewhere is trying to leak something to say, oh, with low confidence, we think maybe it's moderate. Those that drop the bombs precisely in the right place know exactly what happened when that exploded. And you know who else knows? Iran. That's why they came to the table right away, because their nuclear capabilities have been set back beyond what they thought were possible because of the courage of a commander-in-chief who led our troops, despite what the fake news wants to say.
Very well said from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. And he's absolutely right. Every single word that came out of his mouth, I couldn't agree with more. But it goes a little bit further than that. President Trump getting a letter today from the Atomic Energy Commission of Israel with their assessment of how the attacks went.
A letter just came in, and a statement came in from the Atomic Energy Commission of Israel. And I just wondered, this is an official letter, and they're very serious people, as you know. The devastating U.S. strike on Fordo destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility totally inoperable. It was devastated. We assess that the American strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities have set back Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons for many years to come. This achievement can continue indefinitely if Iran does not get access to nuclear material, which it won't. It's so sad that whole thing had to go. But I just want to thank our pilots. You know, they were maligned and treated very bad, demeaned by fake news CNN, which is back there, believe it or not, wasting time, and nobody's watching them. So they're just wasting a lot of time, wasting my time.
Now, this story comes from Natasha Bertrand of CNN, and the story is titled "Exclusive: U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back months," according to the U.S. early intel report. The White House says the assessment is flat out wrong. So now, is Natasha sharing possibly classified information? How would she possibly get her hands on an internal report from U.S. intel? That's the question I want to know. Now, this is the same woman who came out in support of Hunter Biden, saying that his laptop was a total lie. It was Russian disinformation. President Trump taking to Truth Social this afternoon and had this to say, quote, "Natasha Bertrand should be fired from CNN. I watched her for 3 days doing fake news. She should immediately be fired and reprimanded and thrown out like a dog. She lied on the laptop from hell story, and now she lied on the nuclear site story, attempting to destroy our Patriot pilots by making them look bad when in fact they did a great job and hit, quote, pay dirt. Total obliteration. She should not be allowed to work at the fake news CNN. It's people like her who destroy the reputation of a once great network. Her slant was so obviously negative. Besides, she doesn't have what it takes to be an on-camera correspondent. Not even close. Fire Natasha." So my question is still, how did she get a U.S. intel report? Who gave it to her? Because it's not something that would have been made public, even if it were true, to undermine America. We're all American citizens. We wouldn't want to undermine America. And I'm not even sure fake news CNN would want to do that. Why would you want to pose a national threat to the American people? It doesn't make much sense. Marco Rubio, who was also with President Trump at the NATO summit, laid out just how the events went down that day and how Donald Trump was the one to call the shots.
The goal the president set out was 3 nuclear sites. He targeted them. He says, I want a one-off campaign in which we go in, wipe out 3 nuclear sites, hit them hard, and get out without any loss of life. And the mission was achieved, and without any escalation. And the mission was achieved. The truth of the matter is that happened on Saturday night. By Monday night, we had a ceasefire, so 48 hours later. So not only did this bold move by the president, and he deserves a tremendous amount of credit for taking this bold move, not only did this bold move have impact, but I actually think it helped end the conflict. It allowed Israel to say, okay, now the objectives that we wanted to see out of this operation have been achieved. And I think the president deserves a lot of credit. He had a defined mission. So this is what we're going to do. We're hitting 3 targets. We're not hitting regime people. We're not trying to overthrow the government. We're not looking to invade. We're going to hit our problem with Iran is with the nuclear program. We're going to hit the 3 sites that we've been negotiating over, and then we're going to move off the mark. And that's what we did.
And it went according to plan, exactly how they planned it out. Notice there was no leaks. No leaks, no lies, nothing before the attacks happened, the strikes happened. And it was because they left the Democrats in the dark. You see these intel reports that we've just spent a few minutes talking about, leaked to CNN. I wonder who it could have been. Now just imagine them leaking the strikes to CNN or to a Democrat staffer. It could have risked the lives of those pilots. It could have risked the lives of those submarine pilots, captains, everyone partaking in the mission, people across all platforms, American people. CNN is a threat to democracy. They are a threat to America when you do things like that. An absolute total disgrace, and they continue to get away with it. They continue to get away with it. It's a total disgrace. So back to President Trump over at the NATO summit. The head of NATO had some choice words for Donald Trump. Take a listen.
I mean, we may do papers on it, Marco. Maybe we're going to do papers. I don't even know if you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like 2 kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easy to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language to
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
I think we have to join the others.
You heard the man correctly. He referred to Donald Trump as Daddy. The media was all over it in the Netherlands.
Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you Daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No? He did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
Do you regard your NATO allies, though, as kind of like children, and they're obviously listening to you and they're spending more, and you're obviously appreciative of that, but do you hope that actually they're going to be able to defend themselves, defend Europe on their own?
I think they need help a little bit at the beginning, and I think they'll be able to, and I think they're going to remember this day. And this is a big day for NATO. You know, this was a very big day. They took it. One of the gentlemen said, you know what? We've been trying to raise the rate for 30 years, he said, 20 years, from almost the beginning. And he's been there for a long time. He said, until you came along, it never happened. What you did is amazing. It's been sort of an amazing day for a lot of reasons, but also for that. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think they can do it without you, though, in the future? Can they do it without?
Well, ask Mark.
States?
I mean, you have to ask Mark.
Trump being far too kind. The answer to that question is no, they can't do it without America, which is maybe why Donald Trump has pushed these nations to that 5% so that they can maybe start to defend themselves should America ever decide to pull out of NATO.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
I want to turn now to some news here at home. That big, beautiful bill that's been sitting in the Senate for some time now. Some holdups, some radical Dems, some middle-of-the-road Dems, and some rhinos trying to stop the bill. President Trump has been adamant that he wants this thing passed before July 4th, which is just a short few days away at this point. Mike Johnson telling all members of Congress, don't plan any vacations just yet. Don't plan to leave Washington, D.C. just yet. because the Senate could vote as early as tomorrow on this bill. Now, we don't expect it to pass as is. It's looking like it might be broken up into some different pieces because of some GOP holdouts. Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, perhaps possibly Rand Paul want to hold up the bill for various different reasons. Over in the House side, they were able to get it passed, even with the New York delegation of rhinos on that SALT deduction. Senator Thune is saying he's hopeful and confident that they're going to be able to get this thing through, maybe with some problems. Steve Scalise was on Varney this morning, had this to say.
We had a very aggressive timetable in the House. There were many times where people tried to push that and just give us another couple of days, give us another week. And we kept our foot on the gas and said, we've got to get this done for the American families who are struggling, who want relief, who want to have those tax rates locked in and want higher wages, and who want to see inflation and interest rates come down. And so they've got to work out their differences just like we did in the House.
If the Republicans want to hold the House and the Senate in 2026, they better get their ass in gear because time is running out. I think everyone looks at the timetable and say, we've got 2 years to do this and 2 years to do that. It's not really 2 years. 2 years comes and goes very quickly. It feels like just yesterday that Donald Trump was sworn in as president, but it's running its course. Time goes fast. So they better get their butts in gear and get it together before it's too late. And perhaps that's what they want. Maybe they want to lose and have a divided government. Maybe that's what Mike Johnson wants. But it's going to be up to John Thune and Mike Johnson to hold this thing together. Senator Tommy Tuberville was on with Benny Johnson today and said he's confident in it.
How is that going in the Senate? I know that there is quite a bit of ruckus over the parliamentarian striking brick by brick some of the major accomplishments inside of that bill, at least from the House side. How's it look in the Senate?
Well, it's going fine. People ask me about it. 2/3 of it is absolutely great for the American people, making the tax cuts permanent. I mean, that's the main goal of this entire bill. Now, then you have 1/3 of it that everybody over here is kind of playing each other off and, hey, I don't want to cut this from my state or do this or that. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and go on down the road. Now, the parliamentarian, she gets in the Senate, gets to strike out some things. She did some, probably about 10, 15%. But at the end of the day, most of it is pretty good. And people ask me, is it going to pass? I said, it's going to be a photo finish, exactly what it's going to be.
So photo finish, I think, is where I'm at right now. Like I said, I'm 50-50. I think part of me believes it's going to get broken up because of some of those rhinos in the House who just can't get on board with Donald Trump and the America First agenda. But, another side of me hopes and prays that these people could unite behind President Trump for everything he's done for this country and for the American people, to pass this thing once and for all, to give the Republicans a victory, that they can campaign on going into 2026. Because if they don't get this thing through and they make it a mockery and a fool of themselves, the American people are going to see that. They're going to see that come November of 2026 when they go to vote and the Democrats are trying to convince them that they're the party of sanity, that they're the party of voice and reason, that they're the party that can pass bills. And what do the Republicans have to show for if they cannot get through President Trump's agenda? President Trump ran on an agenda, a referendum, that the American people overwhelmingly, and I say this all the time, overwhelmingly voted for. The popular vote. The overwhelming majority of Americans voted for what Donald Trump stood for. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, no interest on American car payments. Those are just the short few things. Securing the border, mass deportations, border security, securing our homeland. None of that is made possible, though, without this bill getting passed. It's where they get the money. So if the Republicans can't get their act together, they're going to be in for a rude awakening come November of 2026, because Donald Trump's not going to be out there on the campaign trail for every single member of Congress, 400 and whatever there are, and you get the Republicans, whatever it is, 300 or so members of Congress, less even, He's not going to be on the top of the ballot to drag them across the finish line as he's done the last 3 elections. So it's time for the Republicans to wake up and start acting like adults. It seems that we come to the same problem every single election. The Republicans acting like petulant children. Now, I understand there's going to be differences. There's always going to be differences in everything we do in life, folks. You sit at home and you argue with your husband and wife about what you guys have for dinner every night. Luckily, I don't have that problem. I just have an 85-pound golden retriever who wants to eat everything in existence. But nothing is ever going to be perfect. Some will say the sky is blue and you walk outside, the sky is gray. It's just how life works, which is why I beg and plead with these Republicans in the Senate to just do the right thing, put your small differences aside, and work them out with President Trump directly. He's the easiest, most accessible president I've ever seen to get a hold of. Call the White House Rand Paul. Call the White House Susan Collins. Call the White House Lisa Murkowski. President Trump is open to meeting with everyone. He's met with John Fetterman before. He's met with Chuck Schumer multiple times and Nancy Pelosi. He's open to meeting with everyone, to hearing what they have to say, what their input is, what they want put in, and what they want taken out. And he's open to compromise, which is why I laugh so often when you hear the Democrats talk about him being a dictator. It's quite the opposite. When you sit in a room with President Trump, he listens to everybody. He takes everyone's input, and then he makes a decision. So for the sake of America, for the sake of this country, for the sake of the Republican Party, get your acts together and pass this damn bill once and for all.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Last night in New York City, we had a mayoral election, and on the ballot was evil versus socialism versus communist. And Andrew Cuomo, a man who's responsible for the death of thousands of elderly people, was defeated like a dog, as President Trump would say.
Put forth, and I'm proud of the issues that we discussed. But tonight was not our night. Tonight was Assemblyman Mondani's night, and he put together a great campaign, and he touched young people and inspired them and moved them and got them to come out and vote. And he really ran a highly impactful campaign. I called him, I congratulated him, I applaud him sincerely for his effort, and let's give him a round of applause and thank him for his campaign.
Thank him for his campaign. Mondani, a socialist communist, who's going to turn New York rather, upside down. And you folks sitting there, we have a massive part of our audience that tunes in from New York. But those of you who are not from New York are tuned in right now saying, what the heck do I care about New York for? Why should I care about New York? Right? Well, we think it could happen here. It could happen anywhere. Most bad things start in New York and they funnel out in other places. We've bred Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg. I mean, we breed some of the worst people Andrew Cuomo, predator, here in New York. So you're sitting there saying, why should I care about New York? Why should I care about New York City or the people there? Because it could happen to you anywhere. Let's take a listen to what this socialist who just won, Zohan Mohamdani, what he wants to do to New York. Never did I think Eric Adams would be the voice of reason and common sense.
Democratic socialist. He wants to freeze the rent. He wants city-run grocery stores, social workers to replace the police because that's going to help. He wants $60 billion of debt fund for affordable housing. He wants free buses, no cost for childcare, baby baskets for newborn, and a $30 minimum wage. How can someone vote for this?
He's a snake oil salesman. He will say and do anything to get elected. Think about this for a moment. He wants to raise 1%. He wants to raise tax on 1% of New Yorkers' high-income earners. As the mayor, you don't have the authority to do that. You know who has the authority to do that? An assemblyman, which he is. He wants to do free buses. He could have done it at assemblyman. He doesn't understand the power of government and how you must making sure you improve your economy, raise the standard of living. And this is what we've done in the city. And I'm looking forward to being on the campaign trail and showing New Yorkers we can't go backwards. And New Yorkers never surrender or quit. I'm never going to quit for the city that I love.
That is so interesting. You're in the position, so you know you don't have the authority to do that. Yet he's running on all these promises he's not going to be able to fulfill. And New Yorkers are buying it. Now, Cuomo did say he hasn't ruled out whether or not he's going to run as an independent, which means he would be on your ticket. He would run against you. How would that affect your race in the field?
I've said this over and over again. People know me by saying three things: stay focused, no distractions, and grind. That's what everyday New Yorkers do. I'm a working class man. I'm probably the first working class union card carrying man in the history of this city. Andrew at this time should realize that the time has moved on. He just did not bring the energy of wanting to be mayor. And New Yorkers, they have this smell test. They know, do you want the job? You can't come out on weekends, go to a black church, go eat fried chicken, and all of a sudden saying that I have the black vote, I have the working class people vote. It's just not the reality. People know if you want the job. He didn't want the job.
What has your phone been like since Mamdani won, who's a BDS guy? He is anti-Semitic. He's anti-Israel. He's going to arrest Prime Minister Netanyahu if he comes to city. So now, all of a sudden, Eric Adams, you might be the only thing to stop, along with Curtis Sliwa, him from becoming the next mayor. What has it been like since the results have basically been all but official?
Of a lot of communications. I think I slept an hour and a half because the phone was going off all night. People understand this moment.
Coming back to you?
In a combination, a lot of people.
Like I said, never did I think that Eric Adams would be the voice of reason and the voice of savior here in New York. And like I said, you're sitting there probably wondering, why should you care about New York? Because if it could happen here, it could happen in Miami, Florida. It could happen in various different places across the country, Texas. I mean, you heard what they laid out there. New Yorkers were dumb enough to go out and resoundingly vote for this man. $30 minimum wage, free buses. Yeah, $30 minimum wage would be great, but who's paying for it? Is it for that restaurant owner who sells a plate of pasta for $20 and his cost for the plate of pasta with labor and electric and insurance and everything is $15 or $12? The amount of places you will see go out of business, the amount of businesses closed because of rhetoric like this, because of actions like this, is going to be resounding. And I sound like a broken record, but if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere. Now, they don't lay out the point also that this man, Zoran Mamdani, who is a self-described socialist, has vowed to help illegal aliens evade ICE. Eric Adams, you remember, got on the Democrats' bad side because he decided to help President Trump in finding some of these illegals around New York, allowing ICE to come into the city and take them out, the criminals. This man vowing now to help these criminals who are here illegally doing crimes against America, against humanity, vowing to help them get the help that they need and allow them to stay in New York. As if New York can afford it, as if the American people, the New Yorkers, can deal with this any worse than it's already been in this city. Truly a disgrace to anyone who voted for this man. But when the time comes, you are going to be the ones to blame. When socialism takes over New York, you are going to be the ones to blame. When socialism starts traveling other places and other cities across America, because people have normalized this, you are going to be the ones to blame. And it's usually the rich folks too. These people with massive sums of money. And these Democrat socialists come in and say, we're going to tax you up the wazoo. And these people don't care. And it makes you wonder why. While on the case of illegal immigrants, illegal migrants, President Trump's administration has overseen a record level of rejected asylum cases for migrants. A new study from the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse at Syracuse University shows in April of 2025, about 80% of all asylum cases adjudicated resulted in a denial. Just 1 in 5 asylum seekers in April received some sort of humanitarian relief. The surge in denials from 44% to 80% denial rate is the best visualized using month-to-month denial rates going back to 2001. By comparison, it took roughly 7 years from 2012 to 2019 to cover similar numbers of increase. The immigration courts accomplished the same increase in just 21 months. So President Trump, promises made, promises kept. When he ran for president, we knew this is what he was going to do, and he's doing just that. Folks, thanks so much for being with us tonight here on The Great America Show. Please be sure to join us back here tomorrow, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. Same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. Have a wonderful night, everybody.